and they're just like ripping him to pieces back here. My God, this is violent. Hey everyone, welcome back to Nortman Reviews, and we are looking at Marvel Zombies #1, done by Robert Kirkman and Sean Phillips, with a cover by Arthur Sweedam. Is that how you say his name? This was such a big thing when it came out. This fucking book exploded at the time. Like, everyone was into it. It was such a kind of cool and unique idea at the time. It started off in this. We'll get into the story. But basically, an Ultimate Fantastic Four, however many years ago. What year was this done? 2006. But before that, in Ultimate Fantastic Four, I think it was Mark Millar and drawn by Greg Land. My brother Rob did a video on Greg Land and the divisiveness of his work. We won't get into that now. Ouch! God damn it! I just hurt my leg. But in that, there was a storyline where the Fantastic Four were contacted by an alternate universe Fantastic Four, and they hinted that it was going to like cross over into the main Marvel Comics 616 universe. And people were like, oh, when you're gonna do that, it's gonna be stupid, but it wasn't. But that's not what happened. It was kind of there was a twist, and when the Ultimate Reed Richards went into that universe, they found out it was infested with zombies. Like, it was overrun by zombies. Like, the whole world and all the heroes and villains were all zombified. Almost every single one. The zombies had taken over the entire world. They'd eaten everything. Everyone was either dead or a zombie. Like, the entire world, more or less. And so they were trying to, but they weren't like brains, just like undead zombies. They still had their faculties. Like, that Reed Richards was a zombie, Reed Richards, but he was able to make it seem like he looked normal, because he was so smart. And basically, they were trying to get into another world so they could eat more, and that's how they tricked the young Ultimate Reed Richards into like going into their world so they could go into his. Blah 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 blah. In that storyline, one of the people who was not zombified was Magneto. And at the end of that story, Magneto helped Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four and escape and all that, and Magneto was left behind, right? And the Fantastic Four, okay, we survived, we got away, like, thank God, end of story. But it's not the end of the story. It continues here. So Magneto sacrificed himself, and like, it was a noble, heartbreaking thing for him to do. And we pick up right after that with what happens with Magneto. Before we jump into that, we're going to talk about the artists and the writers a little bit. We'll talk about these covers, and we'll look at them as we go along. But this was also such a cool thing to zombify these classic covers. And so for Marvel Zombies 1, you got the whatever was it, a Spider-Man #1, Spider-Man's first appearance, like that classic cover where he's swinging through holding a criminal or a crook. But I mean, Arthur Sweedam, I met him once. I got some prints from him at a comic book convention. I heard he's kind of difficult and kind of a pain in the ass, kind of a jerk sometimes. I don't know if any of that is true. Probably shouldn't even like mention it. It doesn't really matter. But his art is really cool. I don't know what he did before this. I'm gonna edit out that. Anyways, Arthur Sweedam, I don't know what he painted before this, what kind of work he did, but he had the interesting take where he didn't just zombify someone. Like, he makes like their skeletons, and he just did a lot of like walking like dead flesh and stuff like that, instead of just like more conventional zombies that have flesh. There's a lot of these just like skeletal images, but it looks really cool, and he pays homage to classic covers, and it's really cool, and we'll look at those as we go on. So Robert Kirkman, we all know him as a writer. He was on Walking Dead. He did a zombie book. And I don't remember exactly what got him to do this, um, but he was reluctant, from what my understanding. Sorry. Because he didn't want to be viewed as the zombie guy. You know, he just does zombie comics. I mean, he's done that and Invincible, two highly successful comics from Image, and Walking Dead. Obviously, you don't need to talk about like the cultural impact that's had with television since then, and now Invincible being like a cartoon that I've watched, and I'll get to it at some point, but I'm kind of like, I know that story. I wasn't really too impressed with the cartoon, but I'll finish it at some point. And then Sean Phillips, he came over from Wildstorm, and he was doing some Wildcats comic books, and he did Sleeper with them. Really, really good. He has a very, very unique style, and it looks not that great comparatively to some people, but it's kind of like, again, it gets the point across. It's almost like a Tim Sale kind of vibe, where he's not as flashy as some of other artists, and he doesn't draw as sexy images as some other artists. So it's not as eye catching off the bat, but it's I really, really, really like him, and I'm interested to hear what other people think about him. So 1 of 5, and let's just get into it. I need to sneeze. Ugh. Edit that out too, maybe. Anyways, Magneto's here. He survived. It worked. The machine has been destroyed. It ends here. Those monsters, they're trapped in this dimension. They can't get anywhere else. But Magneto's and all these fucking zombified Marvel heroes. Yeah, we're trapped here, all right, with you. There's Captain America, Power Man, Luke Cage, Angel, Giant Man, Moon Knight, Thor, Spider-Man, Daredevil. See, they can talk. They can, they can speak. They're not just like brains, and they're just like, fuck this guy. Like, he screwed us over, but we're just gonna like eat him. Like, he's fucking dead. There's nothing he can do. And like, even Captain America here, it's like, I know you're not looking forward to being devoured. I'll give you my word. If you surrender, I'll make you die painlessly first. And Wolverine's like, fuck this. I want to hear him squeal. I've been waiting for this. They're just basically saying, like, you can't win. Just give up and let us eat you. And Magneto is like, there's still plenty of fight in me. And as the master of magnetism, he just starts controlling all this metal, sends it hurling at these guys. And, Magneto is fucking powerful. He can take on the Avengers, the X-Men, whoever. And he'll fuck up people. He could, like, murder so many people, which he's done in certain comic books. But it doesn't kill them. Like, you can't, like, just kill these guys like that. Spider-Man and Captain America are going after him. He runs out of webbing as he's jumping. Out of webbing, crap. And a couple of things happen here really quick. He runs out of webbing and breaks his leg here. He's like, it's like broken in half. And he's like all mad, but he's not like in pain. And then Magneto uses his powers to grab hold of Captain America's shield here, and just he's like, oh good, you brought the shield. He just puts it right through his head. And like, but he's still going. Like, you can't even like decapitate these guys. You can't shoot them in the brains and destroy their brains, and like, that's done. Like, there's no stopping these guys. He's like, look what that punk did to me. If we catch him, when we catch him, I get double rations. He's all pissed off. So Magneto's exhausted. He's running. He's walking. Can't even use his powers to like levitate himself. That's how tired he is, I guess. Um, he has to find a place to hide, has to find a place to heal. He's just doing everything he can to survive. And he's like, "Oh, they're watching the skies." That's kind of a funny picture of Thor there. And then he gets like a notification somehow, beep beep, and someone's talking to him on this little communicator. And he's like, "Wait, it can't be. I thought when I lost contact, someone survived. There's people up on asteroid M floating in space." He's like, "You're alive?" And they're like, "Yeah, we can do it. Like, I'll send a shuttle down." He's like, "No, I'll find a way to get up to you. Don't risk it." So now there's some hope for Magneto, right? Uses powers. He goes into the sewers. But he gets seen by Hawkeye. Hawkeye shoots. He sends Captain America's shield, decapitates him right there. But he also gets hit by the arrow. Cap gets his shield back. So I'm pretty sure Hawkeye isn't. Yeah, he's not dead here. Again, using his powers in any way he can, sending one of these arrows into Thor, knocking over Giant Man, and he's just every ounce of strength, and he's doing well. Sends his building crumbling down on these Avengers. He's fucking yelling at him. He's like, "You underestimated me. You think I'm an easy target? I'm the master of magnetism. I can, surrounded by steel and concrete, I'll outlive you all. You really think you can defeat me?" But who's this coming up behind him? It's the Wasp. Got behind him, and all it was one bite, and he's done. And he's like, "Yes, I thought it was a pretty safe bet." So, again, from my understanding, if you get bit, you'll turn into a zombie, but they can also just like devour you. So, I think the human population is dead, and only the powerful heroes who could kind of fight back, they get bit and then they'd eventually turn. So that's why like the all the heroes and whoever are still around, but the humans are gone. So um, she takes a bite and they all jump in and they start arguing. Like, he's like, "Hey, keep that bite and we'll shrink down and share it." And she's like, "Share? I'm not going to share." It's like, "God damn it. God damn it." So they're all going in to get a piece, but they're fighting each other to get what little there is of him. And he's yelling, "I hope you choke on me." Hulk comes in. Hulk is hungriest, and he fucking rips off his leg right here. And they're like, "That's all you get. Like that's a big enough piece for you." And they're just like ripping him to pieces back here. My God, this is violent, and it gets even more violent. And just this homage, tearing out organs and flesh and biting in and just devouring him. It's so sickening in an awesome way. And then, they're kind of still hungry. And here's an interesting thing. I got to reorient my camera. Because after they eat, Spider-Man's saying like, "Oh, thanks for throwing some back here. I couldn't get up there with a broken leg." And they're like, "You got lucky. We weren't sharing at all. Like, these guys, they're all out for themselves, and they just understand that they can't do anything to each other." But and then they kind of start explaining some stuff. Hulk reverted back to Bruce Banner, but like he still has all this shit inside his stomach that doesn't revert back. Like he ate a lot, like more than his stomach, so it's like poking out of him. It's like, "I'm not," and so they kind of start talking more about the science behind it here, because they're trying to figure it out amongst themselves, like what's going on with them. which they didn't explain in like the Ultimate comic books because it didn't really matter then. Because Spider-Man's like saying like, does anyone know how long my leg will heal? Like take for my leg to heal? Anyone? And Bruce Banner's like, we have no clue how this works. Like, I'm certainly not digesting any of this. I feel my stomach rip as soon as I transform back into Banner. But his stomach didn't burst. And he says, we still feel no pain. Thor has an arrow through his neck, but he's fine. And he says, like, I clearly don't have a heart, but I'm fine. Near as I can tell, the only gripe is a little swelling in the ankles. Okay. Oh, that's Daredevil. Oh, he's like, that's not just swelling. Since your heart has stopped pumping blood, gravity is forcing it down into your lower extremities. Your legs are filled with blood. It's like, that's just going to slow me down. Can't I just puncture my legs to get it out of me? I'm sure he could. And Luke Cage is like, not with me sitting next to me, you can't. They're not work. Our bodies aren't working like they used to, or at all. And Wolverine's like, my healing factor isn't doing anything. We're dead, but we're not dying. So yeah, they're still just trying to figure out what's going on with them. But they are decomposing, he says. Yeah, so they mention here, as long as our brains are intact and functioning, we'll continue on as is. But Captain America, he's holding half his brains. He's like, I've got evidence to the contrary. They call him Colonel America here instead of Captain. I'll probably continue calling him Captain America. And so they start talking like, "Does someone find Hawkeye's head? That might make for a useful study." And Peter Parker like starts freaking out. It's like, "What have we become?" And they're like, "Oh God, here we go again." And so Peter Parker starts freaking out. He's like, "I ate my wife, my aunt. Why did I do that?" And they're all like, oh, "Just stop. There's not a person here who didn't eat a loved one. It was horrific." So once their hunger sets in, they just become monsters. And they say like, if they eat, then their hunger, like their minds aren't clouded by the hunger. So they can kind of think normally. But once they get hungry, they just turn into fucking monstrous zombies. So anytime that after they eat, Spider-Man starts freaking out that he ate Aunt Jane, Mary Jane, and Aunt May. So this is funny. Bruce Banner says, I have a bone is about to push through me. I can feel it. I don't want to have a hole in me. Can one of you punch me or try to eat me or something so I can turn back into the hole? So Thor, with his hammer, just like slams into him. And this is, I don't know what's going on with his hammer. It just looked like a piece of rubble now. And I don't know if did he lose his hammer? He just has something else. But that didn't work. He's like, I'm not turning. So it's coming through, and it eventually pops through him. And Luke Cage, he points out something like, wait, what was that? Did someone see that? There's something back here. It's like such a tiny little image of who is this? Right? I mean, if you've read this comic, you know. He's like, no, something flew in the sky. Fuck. And it's the Silver Surfer. He's just kind of casually going through. It's like, that's what I saw. Is that what I think it was? Yeah, more food of the Silver Surfer. So, in this timeline or in this reality, Galactus and Silver Surfer had not like come to Earth, so no one knows who this is or what this is. All they see is more food, You can see X-Men Legends, Perfect Dark Zero. That's when this comic came out. So there you go. Marvel Zombies #1. We'll get to all 5, and then there's a sequel series. I'm sure we'll get to that afterwards. There's all sorts of spin-off series afterwards, too. There was Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness, which I think I actually have somewhere. I don't know if we'll look at everything. We'll, if we go on long enough, we might. So there it is, Marvel Zombies. Thanks for watching. What did you think? And give me your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button. And as always, I will see you in the next video.